7 o'clock right on the button, thank you. So we'll open the meeting and have to advise everybody here that this, to comply with open meeting laws, this meeting is being televised and recorded. So the first item on the agenda is the reorganization of the Board of Health. I decided after a long stint as the chairman to step down as of the beginning of this meeting, and I appreciate the support of the board and the whole department, Cheryl, Judy, and Jim Malley if he's watching. But I think it's just time for me to step down as the chairman. So, so we need, and I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to nominate and handpick my successor. So I'd just like to debate here in public of who might be interested in the chairmanship, and potentially if that left the vice chairmanship open or whatever. However that goes, we need nominations and votes to reorganize the board. So, and if anybody has any specific interest in a position, I suppose you can speak up too, but I'll just leave it at that and open it up to the board.
What do you guys think?
I don't have a particular interest in being chairman, so. Where does that leave?
I've been vice chair, so I can step up if you want.
All right, yeah, be awesome if you would, that'd be awesome.
Do I get a crown?
You do, absolutely get a
We'll
crown.
get you one for the next
My
meeting.
president's hat? Yeah.
So,
Anything for the town of Sutton, you know.
Thank you.
That's all I vote.
Good, all right. So, I don't know, so you'd be willing to do it?
Yeah.
Okay,
No
good.
one
I don't know if
else-
somebody wants to
no one
nominate.
else has a burning
Yeah,
desire.
okay,
Who's gonna nominate?
I nominate
okay.
Fredericks and.
All in favor of Bill
Second?
Fredericks?
Second.
Oh, second? Second, and all in favor?
Discussion?
Very good, okay, good.
Easy.
All right, excellent, easy. So that leaves the vice chairman seat open.
Do you want to do that?
No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do it. So that leaves the vice chairman open. I don't know, who's interested in doing that?
Chairman?
Mhm.
I nominate Tammy. Vice
Okay,
chairman.
okay, second, discussion, anything like that?
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. All right, well, I'm gonna get out of the center seat.
Not now.
Yes, I am.
No, I need time to work.
That's it, man. You're the chairman. Congratulations to both of you. And there are some, we can keep in touch. There's some, follow-up type of stuff. We'll kind of blend in here, as things go on. So here's the agenda, which you probably have a copy of anyway. And then if I leave that, and I just need my little thing. And there you go. I like it.
Okay, we're adjourned. Where's the ice cream and pizza?
I'm not telling you, then move
Hold on, that's yours too.
All right.
Just look at them.
Okay, so that's done. Do we have minutes? How far behind are we on minutes?
We're pretty far behind on minutes. I think we have one done.
What's the requirement for us? I mean, are we supposed to?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I've spoken to the town manager. Unfortunately, with us being a very part-time office and
Yeah.
extremely busy office, kind of day-to-day stuff and emergency stuff gets to the top of the pile, so
Do we ever have?
we are working on it.
Do we ever have situations where it comes back and we need to go to the minutes? That's the only thing I'm concerned
Not yet,
about.
but I think Judy is just about caught up with everything because we just closed the last fiscal year things in the beginning of a new fiscal year, so we had to
Oh, okay.
separate a lot of funds and
Right.
so hopefully all the permits for this fiscal year are out regarding food and a few other items. Tobacco. So hopefully she'll have more time to work on the minutes. We're thinking of closing the office, even though that's gonna be a detriment to the public due to the fact that the minutes need to get done, so.
Could we have maybe an intern or something help with it, or is there anyone around there?
It's difficult.
Yeah. Okay.
But we are working on it, so hopefully we'll have better answers for the next meeting, because I have to report back to Jim Smith about that also.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Right, local upgrade variances, 19 8 Lots Road. Someone here from that, or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Liz Dupree?
Liz Dupree.
That's you, okay. What do we got?
Step up.
you want to,
Sure.
go right into it? I don't know. Sometimes there's a big announcement, I think we can for it, but anyway, I don't need
Do you
an
have the
announcement.
print minutes?
If you could just pull that microphone a little closer to you so we get a good audio.
Okay.
Is that the,
So here's our design. This is the property, right here, property lines. The house, the owner's well, the neighbor's
You have
well,
a couple, you want to send one down
is
there?
100-foot.
You want to send a copy down there
radius
too?
here. So, can you guys see it all right? No. I'm gonna put up the whole. So this is the proposed septic system, and that's basically the layout. The system complies with Title V of the
Liz, can you stand on the other side? Yeah, that's better, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the system complies with Title V with the exception of distance to wells. And it is 79 feet to the owner's well and 73 feet to the neighbor's well. The system is designed with a new septic tank, a pump chamber, and a leach field. It meets the requirements for offset to groundwater, 4 feet. So what happens in this system is you're gonna have primary treatment in your septic tank. When the effluent gets up to the leach field, you have, the wastewater is treated. So that's what Title V is all about. When that water leaves that septic system, your wastewater is treated. In this case,
With what?
treated through this system. So in the septic tank, the solids settle down and just an effluent goes out to the leach field.
Okay.
And in the leach field, it's like a trickling filter. There's stone in there, and the effluent trickles over the stone, and biomat is formed, and the bugs eat the pollutants in the wastewater. So the water that leaves there is clean. And in addition to that, on this particular system, we have roughly 4 feet of sand under that, which creates somewhat of a tertiary treatment to the wastewater. So any water coming through the system is gonna be fully treated before it hits a seasonal high water table. And in addition to that, a seasonal high water table is in the spring when your water table is as high as it gets. So this time of year, it's many feet lower than that. So this water is not only treated in the system, then has tertiary treatment through the sand, it's still traveling very far to get to any water. The groundwater, when it hits the groundwater, it's gonna follow the path of least resistance and go with the water table. Wells on the other, do you know if your well's an artesian or a dug?
It's an artesian well.
Okay, so artesian
But it's
wells.
downhill from the proposed septic system.
Right,
So
well,
it's
artesian
not-
wells
yeah,
draw
where's
their
the
water
system?
from confined aquifers that are not directly
Right.
connected to a groundwater system next door. They're getting
But
water,
The law in Massachusetts is 100 feet.
I understand that, yeah.
But it looks like you split the
But-
difference.
But how come it can't be more towards 8 Lots Road,
So
where where's the existing system?
the existing system is right here, you see the dots?
That can't be dug up and replaced?
Well, that's
that would-
still in that's still in your 100-foot zone.
Yeah, but it's not 73, it's probably 84.
Well, this system is in the groundwater too, actually, right now. I mean, this is gonna be pulled right out of the groundwater. This is gonna, cause complete treatment. If we moved it down here, instead of here, and kept it in the 100-foot zone, I can show you, actually, 'cause we did some rough
But
drawings.
it still would be further away from the natural flow of the land towards our well.
That's a little
Right, but then this is what I'm trying to explain to you, because the water that leaves the system is not going to end up in your well.
How do you know?
The well water is extracted from an aquifer that's hundreds of feet below the ground.
Okay.
So if this,
The
in this.
well's only 150 feet deep.
Okay, well, 100 feet below the ground. This water is gonna enter the groundwater. It's not gonna go through the ledge to that water supply right here. It's gonna mitigate with the groundwater and get to, you know, wherever it's gonna go. I can't determine that without doing a major flume study on water, where the water flow is here, but
Huh?
this is treated water.
Like, just think,
It's just gonna go through the sand
is
and
not-
it fills
it
you
won't be-
drink it by
there
the
will
time
be no
it's gone in the
contamination, and
sand, it's pure
besides,
water.
maybe you can tell.
This, however, is in the groundwater, so, you know, we're taking a bad situation, making it much better here.
Wait, I don't understand, can you explain that?
That's,
Why
how
did you-
old is the your previous system? Is it a,
I think it's
Or
the
you don't
original.
need
It's 57 years old.
yeah, this is a far superior system.
Yes.
No, I understand,
Fire
but
I
where,
understand that.
where that is if you look at the topography, there's an opening between the stone walls, so any wastewater is gonna come directly into.
No, the
Is
waste,
this- no, it
the
won't.
wastewater filters through this,
No, I know, but the trickle water, the water that trickles out of it
No.
will come down.
It doesn't work
No.
like
it
that.
doesn't work like that. It stays in this swimming pool of sand with 5 feet of material around it, so it can't break out. So by the time all this liquid goes into this field, it's spread out evenly and it filters all the way down. By the time it gets to the bottom of the sand, you can drink it. This is a much better system than the existing system that's there.
Would you drink it?
Yeah,
You were in worse shape with the other one.
yes.
Oh,
Then
if
you
you don't
would
have
be
a
with this one.
contaminated well with the old system, this.
No, I understand,
this-
but what, it just feels like you could move it closer to
We can have systems 25 feet to a well, 50 feet to a well.
I understand, but we're not comfortable with it, so we're willing to.
The reason, let me show you what I looked at moving it into other locations. And if we moved it, and I have a rough drawing of those.
What
So
is
this
in front
red
of us?
area is
What
if we
are they
slid it
looking for?
further away from your house, your well. And it makes it then it would be 50 feet from the owner's well. But
So why would-
this is 2 feet higher than any ground around it. So what happens is there's gonna be this giant knob, and we can't properly grade it that way either, so we'd have to build retaining walls on this side and this side in order to put it there.
So is
if-
that within 100 feet, or how many feet
This
away
is,
that?
this is further than, this is beyond the 100 foot.
Okay, great.
Beyond the 100 foot, it's not great,
Why?
because,
For you?
did
For
you
the
explain
owners?
that did you hear what I said?
You have to
Yeah.
build a retaining wall.
You'd have to build large retaining
Why is
walls
this in
along the
front of
back of the
us?
house and,
Cause it's within 100 feet.
But that's, we, that's not a
Well,
problem with the board.
this
We
was
do-
notification of a butter, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
right.
So when we
Yeah.
always approve variances that have
Oh,
notification from a
yeah, much less than this from Wells.
Well, let me make another point here. This would be your property here, right? And about the location of your house
Mm-hmm,
and the well.
mm-hmm.
And your wellhead pretty much covers most of your property. So I can only assume that your septic system is in the 100-foot wellhead area.
It's almost down at the front corner, the leach field.
Okay, so it's in the wellhead area,
Yeah, it's also well downhill from it.
but it
The
is.
hill's gonna-
Pitch of the lot has no bearing
no
on the way
bearing
the
on-
effluent goes,
right.
zero. Pitch of the lot has nothing to do, that's a safe.
If these are, what year is the system? You know,
68 when the house was built.
so, like this one, it's gonna be sitting in the groundwater. So what happens when they sit in the groundwater is the wastewater that comes into that system gets washed around in water. It doesn't go through a trickling filtering system. So this is far more likely to contaminate your well. This is far more likely to contaminate your well than this ever would be. This is not gonna contaminate this well, ever, ever. I would guarantee it.
Writing.
We grant these things all
I
the
didn't- I
time,
didn't-
all the
I
time.
know, but it's not.
Let me also-
She's talking about our well for their.
Right, but
Well, I know, but
didn't-
my well, my neighbor, I live in small lots, there's all kinds of variances in my neighborhood.
I'd encourage
There's all
you
kinds.
to listen to the expert, because we're also, see this, and
You see
she's
hundreds of
telling you,
these.
you're gonna be better off with this than you ever were with the other one.
I still don't understand why if you moved it and put up the retaining wall, is that because it's more of an expense to?
It wouldn't fit with the property. It would be like, creating a monster in your yard.
It's not our yard.
It's all right that it's not
Wait.
your yard, I know, but I care.
I think we
it's
can be a little
also-
bit respectful of the people whose yard it is, though.
And there's also a thing called maximum feasible compliance, so the state tells the board and tells us that when we're doing a repair, that we have to take everything into consideration when we know the cost of the value of this house, that this system has to stay at a certain, cost to meet maximum feasible compliance. It's already slightly over. If you add walls in a system like this or that, you are far exceeding maximum feasible compliance. And the board would tell you that they do not want to put one of their residents into that situation when there is absolutely no danger here.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this also. Our neighbors in New Hampshire, their wellhead radius for new construction, not a repair, is 75 feet.
Yeah, Massachusetts is 50%
Massa-
over design.
Yeah,
They also allow you to have a 2-foot separation from the bottom of your system to the seasonal high groundwater. So in this case, we have 4. They allow 2 and they allow a 75-foot wellhead radius. If this was a problem, New Hampshire would change their regulations. In Maine, they allow a 1-foot to 2-foot separation from groundwater and down to a 60-foot wellhead radius for new construction. Again, if that were a problem and people's wells were being contaminated, this wouldn't be the regulation.
So so explain to me the table, is it based on where the well is parked, where it's parked, or is it where it runs off to? Or does that not matter?
The water
Is it-
table?
Yeah, the water table, is it where it's parked? Is that what you're talking about?
That's just about the color of the
The
soil.
groundwater
right?
table, so the groundwater table and why you end up with these mounds, in 1995, they changed the way they logged the groundwater table. So they no longer dig a hole and log the water where they see water.
Okay.
They log it where it could be, it's seasonal high, it's perched water tables, it leaves a staining in the soil.
they're looking at
They call it
100-year
modeling.
high, that's what they're looking at. Massachusetts has one of the strictest laws for septic.
But it could also be where you hit a denser soil and the water comes
Yeah.
down through the ground and it rides along that level for a little ways before it drops down. So the state says in the repair, it's gonna be 4 feet off of that. Okay, so before it even hits that line where the water table might not even be getting to anymore at this point, you're 4 feet above that and it's pre-treated, and she's absolutely right, you can basically drink it when it gets to
Yeah.
that sand. Most systems fail before it even gets to that sand.
And all
So-
around the outside of this field of sand and pipes is 5 feet of solid material, which is nothing's gonna permeate through. So it sort of stays in that swimming pool area of the septic, and it's not gonna get out. And then it permeates down. And
When
it's
those
a,
new systems fail, you see them coming out of the ground before
These
they
are-
go down. They fail up. instead of
It's
down.
far superior
yeah.
to what's there. The other consideration you may wanna think of is if you're
I
on a
think it's
relatively
because
small lot
we
there
need to notify the
and you need a
voters.
new septic, you're
So
likely to
that's
be
why
coming to
they
us for
will-
the same variances that we're potentially granting here tonight if we do so. So you might wanna seriously consider.
Yeah, septic
Because
systems
very
last
likely.
30, 35 years. They don't
Yeah.
last forever.
Very likely that you're gonna be in the same position, as these people are, needing a
Yeah.
septic system and needing the exact same, you know,
Made a statement.
variances from the board. So I would be,
And
unless
whenever
you are
your
very, you know,
house- whenever
that's something to
these-
consider.
Whenever these houses are sold, even though the variance is issued, whenever they do a Title V inspection, they have to test your well.
Oh,
They have to pay to test that, you
Yeah,
know,
no,
so.
we understand.
okay, we also have a statement from Jim Malley, who's, the inspector, is that his
He's
title?
our contract engineer.
Oh, contract engineer. In regard to the local upgrade for the well distance, I must agree that the designer, that this is the best possible solution for the property. While on paper, you can put the system 100 feet away from the abutters, while it would not be practical application for placement on an on-site system. There may be other variance upgrades involved, such as distance to foundation, potential to offset groundwater. The DEP has placed in the Title V regulations, a reduced well offset for up to 50 feet. The board has granted these upgrades before, so this is not a precedent-setting issue. In my opinion, this design provides the same degree of environmental protection as prescribed under the Massachusetts Code.
And this is a repair for an existing house. And she's licensed, she's an expert, and that's our other expert that works for the town, so it's the best system they can put in.
Really, it may seem as a, first look at this as a resident, be alarming, I can tell you we have granted many, many, many of these, and we've never had a problem with anybody's well.
Do you have
If the well was to fail, where could we put a well on our property?
I wouldn't know, you'd have to hire an engineer to know. It's just, you know, I can't, and we've never had a problem with these. These are granted, we grant these on a regular basis to far
So do you-
far less
If we had to drill a
distance.
new well and we could put it like 6 feet away from the existing well, would you say no because it's too close to that?
It's
No,
irrelevant.
that
No,
would
of
be
course not.
grandfathered in too.
No, of course not.
It's an
No, of course
existing
not.
law.
No, of course not. In fact, whenever somebody drills a new well, they have to submit a well plan to us, and we try to optimize where it goes on the lot, looking at neighbors, because in the past, we didn't require that, and people would drill a well right next to the property line, and then it would create inconvenience for another neighbor when they wanted to drill a new well. So, you know, not at all. We would grant that, and we try to optimize these well placements in neighborhoods where lots are small, to accommodate everyone.
So how do you know that it has no impact? Like, I know that you feel engineering wise that it doesn't, but how do you know if it does or doesn't have any impact on on the well? Like,
On
do you
your
have to
well?
measure
The water,
that?
the water regime, the subsurface water regime. An artesian well draws from an aquifer,
Okay.
hundreds of feet below the ground. It's a confined, it's, you know, it's sealed, basically sealed. There are fissures, there are ways to get through it, but in order to do that, you know, the water takes a really long time because it's either shale or it's a really dense material. Groundwater is gonna follow this stuff is gonna follow the path of least resistance. It's really gonna go with a groundwater flow, and it's gonna go away from these properties.
So
They're somewhat different systems.
I understand that, so, but when it falls, so, we do have an issue that in the winter, and, that you do get puddling in the backyard, how much
Back here?
waste-
Yes.
Yes, right where that, because there's a hill that comes down, so we
Mhm.
wouldn't want that to impact and get closer to the how much water would fall off of that system? An hour a day?
There's nothing from the
Nothing.
septic system that's gonna appear on the surface ever
Okay.
impact the surface water. If it does, there's a severe malfunction with the septic system.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we,
Have you tested your well?
Yeah,
Have
absolutely.
your well
Yeah.
tested?
Yeah, I just had it done last week.
Okay, good. So that's two subsurface systems that are there now that are not compliant with Title V, are not contaminating that well.
I think at this point, would like to, put it to a vote, because I don't see us having a
Well,
problem with it.
he just wanted us to review this, right?
Right.
Yeah, so
Oh.
we're not,
We don't have to.
he's already have to approve.
No, this was a notification to abutters, so we
Okay,
have to
yeah,
approve those.
Yeah, okay,
So,
so
all
I
right.
make
And
a
the
motion
spec-
to, approve this septic plan at 819 Eight Lots Road. And that, Jim Alley's already approved this?
Yep.
Yep.
For the variance
So-
of 74.
Yeah, we need a specific variances from, one well is 73 feet, another well is 79 feet.
Variance of, 73 feet from the neighbor's well, and what's the homeowner's distance?
79.
79.
79 feet from the homeowners.
That's all they needed, right, Judy, those two? Yeah, okay.
Second it? Or second?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guy. Could move to, review of, Jim Alley's local upgrade approvals. 105 Purgatory.
Should be on that stack.
We're reviewing the plans that Jim Alley reviewed?
Yeah, we'll just take a quick look at them, right? We
Yeah.
typically do this. Yeah, this is typical. We just kind of.
Well, these are ones that had,
Variances.
requests, yeah, for
he
variances
approved.
that he approved.
That he
That he
approved?
approved
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, but didn't we just always kind of pass that through?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of look at them and
Yeah.
see. He just, yeah. There's no. I don't think we do anything other than
Okay.
look
can
at
just
them
look
and
at
make
'em.
sure. He just likes us to look at them to see if.
Well, you had all
think-
requested this,
Yeah.
actually,
Right.
to
Okay.
look
Just
at them.
notifies us when he grants it.
So
Right,
that's
yeah,
why I
notifies
took
when he
them
grants
on.
it, but I don't think, well, we can
Yeah.
stop doing it too.
We'll give more information. So you got another page to this?
Okay, this one was a reduction from 4 to 3 foot to groundwater. Yeah, so he gives.
That was approved on the 14th.
Out here,
Here you go, sir.
142 feet, that's no guarantee.
Keeping everything straight, right, Bill?
Good job.
Couldn't be one of these, oh, we have nothing to do meetings, no.
No,
It's dropping on
I
the new
knew it was
kid.
gonna throw you right under the bus. I was looking forward to it all day, because it's gonna be
This is a
fun.
new tank.
What are the local upgrades on these one, you know? Are they all offsets?
They're all
to that one?
spelled out inside those folders, actually.
Let's see,
They're further out
let's see,
to you.
which one, is that the one, that's the one we just did, right?
That's the one they're still looking
Yeah,
at.
Okay.
I don't know what this is because you're meeting the offset.
This is,
I think he has it written.
What is he asking for on this one?
Three.
Doesn't it say it right there on that email?
it says 3 foot, it's 4 to 3 foot to groundwater.
It's Tom Self, it says up there.
3 foot,
Reduction of 3 foot to groundwater. That was the first 105 purgatory, right? And then this one looks like it's the same thing. I'll leave it
yeah,
there.
this is what they're saying.
They're all 4 to 3 foot offsets,
They're all the same?
yeah, they're all pushed through.
And they're all putting in new tanks? The 2 compartment tanks are going in these?
I hope so, should
I
they?
think so.
Do we wanna look at all of them?
Well, that's every plan that comes through, not even in the variance, I mean, that should be just something that you stand for the check, you know what I mean?
It should be, yeah.
I don't know. I don't need to look at it.
Okay. So this would have been, wait, 2 Dodge Lane.
That was the same thing, the 3
Yeah.
foot to
Okay.
groundwater.
Do you wanna see it?
No, I think Valley, if we went with the new tank, just if it's going 3 foot off to the groundwater, that's not.
Yeah, they're all been approved.
Yeah,
They're all 3 feet.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not, yeah. I'm comfortable
We're good with
that.
Jim Alley's stuff.
I'm comfortable with that.
Wayne, what's going on?
Title V needs Board of Health evaluation for 17 Irma Jones Road.
So I have that here, that I will give to you for review. So it needs further evaluation per Helgeson Excavating, who did the Title V, due to the neighbor. They wrote on the Title V report, neighbor at 15 Irma Jones declined request to have their well water tested. However, I found out after that it wasn't declined, I don't know that there were 13 and 15 share a well.
Mhm.
Nobody is, they're not able to reach the person at 15 and the person at 13. So I don't know that the people were actually notified. One of the people says nobody's there, lives there, and the other person doesn't like anybody on their property, and it's
How
a shared well.
close is the well?
So I don't know if you wanted to send a letter
Neighbor
to
and
these people.
number 15, declined request of their well tested. So, tape measured at 83 feet, D-box to neighbor's well at 15, Irma Jones. So basically, what we need to do, I think, as a board, I mean, you tell me, but is we send them a letter
Yeah, to
requesting
get it
that they should
tested.
have their well tested.
Yeah.
If they decline, then basically the report can go through as a pass, but we attach a letter to it saying that they were declined to do a well test.
Yeah.
So we did our part on, as a public health part, is notifying them that it's on their better half that they have their well tested. All we can do is suggest that, that's their property, but it's paid for by them. It's a free well test, so.
Send letter that they must, and if they don't comply, then You said we pass it and
The
then,
Title V is passed,
It's-
and then,
yeah.
well, if there's any contamination to their well, there's nothing. that
Do
we
they
can do
know
to
there's
avoid
no
at that time.
cost to it, or they weren't notified at all?
They were notified by me, so.
Well, I think they need to be notified in writing, that's no cost to them and that, because the Title V is being done
Who's the
on.
cost gonna be on?
It's on the
The
person
title
It's on the
selling
person,
property.
doing the 17
Yeah.
Irma
This
Jones.
is Ronald Donnie.
Yeah.
Whoever's selling the property has to pay for all the well tests. I used to run on the lake, there was five wells that I had to test.
Mm-hmm.
So if I send a certified
Yeah.
and it gets received, how long do we want to give them to notify us that we proceed without hearing from them?
10-day window?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we should try to get it all wrapped up within 30 days if possible, of the Title V report.
I wouldn't give them 30 days.
No.
Just give them,
get it wrapped up in 30 days. So what, 10
So-
days?
I think 10
Yeah.
days.
And then that,
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have to send it out and then it takes a few days to hear back.
yeah.
Alright.
And it's really, I mean, it's to me that I can never understand why someone would do that. I see it happen myself. Even if there's something wrong with the well, it's just,
Right,
You'd wanna know if you can.
right.
So then does it automatically become a pass, or does someone have to change the
No,
report
we
for
have-
it to become a pass?
No,
How
it
does
doesn't
that
get
work?
changed as a report. A letter gets attached saying the Board of Health
Okay.
has voted on this and it's considered a passing Title V.
Alright.
78 Dudley Road?
So that's one you have, Kenny.
Oh, yeah, so basically on this one, there's two Title Vs, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, so this is the oldest one.
Yeah, I don't have the second one in-house yet.
So what happened is there's two Title Vs on this property. American Sewage failed it on 1/22/17, stating that the system was in the groundwater table. And how they determined that it was in the groundwater table is that the pit was 1/3 full.
Yeah,
So that's not a determination of groundwater at all. They checked with the Board of Health, reviewed the plan for number 76 Dudley Road.
I think you meant 80 though, 'cause there was no 76.
Right, cause it's, for one, he reviewed a plan from 1987, which is prior to the new testing, but still, number 80's log in 10 feet dry. So, really, the Title V is kinda not very great on how he logged groundwater table, but in order for us to do anything, we need the other report. So
So
we
is it
need to
done
see
more
why
recently?
he passed it and why this guy failed it. So, if he passed it and stated there was proof of it not being in the groundwater, one thing the board could do is require the owner to do an unofficial soil test and log groundwater on that property. You know, you could have a third Title V guy go out there and do that, but realistically, what he should be doing is a soil test. So, to me, I mean, if they passed it and say it's not in the groundwater table, then it becomes a point of, in using it in a butter, there's other professional ways to do it, but us as a board, I would think, instead of using it in a butter, groundwater can change from here to the door. So I think the right thing to do is have them do unofficial testing, which is between the engineer and machine is like $400. It's cheaper than doing a third Title V.
How do we get that information to them?
She has to wait till the Board of Health's the Title V is turned in. If not, this stands.
it failed. That's a failed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
other
he's-
one is a pass,
Yeah.
but he called me and wanted to know how we should proceed.
Yeah, they should turn the
Jim
pass
did
report in.
call this gentleman who did this Title V
Yeah.
to get how he determined it. I don't have that answer.
Yeah, it's really not, it's not the greatest information on here. I mean, his information seems to be not correct 100%.
Kenny, would you be able to determine if, once we get that other one, how that's written up as opposed to how this one,
Yeah,
which
so
one would be
we need
better?
both of them to say for one, where are you getting your information saying that it's passing? Does it meet all the passing criteria? The only failing criteria that he's listing in here is it's in the groundwater,
And that might be faulty.
and that might not be correct.
Right. So we might be able, if we get the other plans and it's worded
Right.
correctly, then
And
we
if
may be
he-
able to stop
right,
it there,
if
right?
he's using a butter, if he's using something else, they're both stating the system's working.
Right.
What they should be, what the question should be is it in the groundwater, is it not in the
And
groundwater?
they need to test for that.
Right,
Okay.
so that's as easy as telling the homeowner, you do a soil test, wherever the groundwater is, you either pass or you fail.
Yeah,
Okay,
Pretty simple.
but we have to wait until we get that other, because otherwise we have to fail now.
Right.
Okay, got it. 107 West Millbury Road, well question.
Okay, I guess I've been
So it's
kind of
illegal
looking, this property,
Do you want me
was,
to?
yeah, I want you to, but it was, has another well drill potentially, but yeah, why don't you give them the details, because I'll probably screw it up.
So, a person had this property, they had a septic system designed. It was approved with variances for the well by the board, contingent upon house plans. This was back in 2016, okay? Then they sold it. Then, now.
did they build the house?
No, they did not, and I've never seen the house
So this is
plans.
actually,
It's an open file, still in my drawer. with
It's just
approved
raw land.
plans. Well, it's a tear down,
it's a tear down,
it's a tear down,
so it's an existing house,
correct.
okay.
It's a 4-room, 2-bedroom house. The new design is for a 2-bedroom system, okay? The new person, who now, there's a third party now wanting to buy this property, and she called to do her due diligence and look into this. She has told me that she was informed that a new well, that there's a few problems there. The first problem is that she was informed that a well was installed.
A new well was installed?
Yes.
And a permit was taken out for a new well?
I have not issued the permit yet because the septic and well plan were only approved contingent upon seeing house plans, which we never got, so I've never issued an actual well permit.
So a well couldn't have been installed if there was no permit.
Well, it couldn't have been installed with permission from the board, but it could have been installed. I did check the DEP site to see if, there was a well completion report, on that site. There was not. She was even told who did the well, which is someone who pulls permits all the time, so it was odd. She also believes the well is not in the location that is depicted on that plan, so that's another problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you wanna proceed,
Did-
if there's somebody, so I had Jim take a ride by, he couldn't really see, so. And Jim was also gonna call the well driller, but I have not heard back from Jim yet, cause this just all happened last week.
So as far as the well was gonna be approved,
The-
waiting on
House
house
plans,
plans.
yeah,
And the location is based on the house plan and the septic on the
Correct.
well.
Mhm.
You just can't go in there and put it wherever they want.
no,
Right, so they basically, if they did do that without a permit, I mean, realistically, the well drillers don't have town licenses, so you can't pull their license. But you can make them go through the whole permitting process, and if it's not to code, they have to make it that way.
But it could
And
be
if
in the
they
wrong
can't put-
location.
If they can't put their house on it or put their septic in it,
Yeah.
then they just made their piece of land invaluable, basically, without doing it without a permit.
The
Well,
other thing
they
too
have
is, this optimization of well locations, we look at neighboring properties
Right.
too, to
Yeah.
try to give them the most, so if they
So
close
if
their
they
neighbor
did
too.
something,
right.
yeah, they gotta abandon it and do it
Plus, there's
right.
an
Correct.
existing well on
Right.
top of that, it's been
it
decommissioned.
needs to be decommissioned,
Right.
or, I don't know if it was done or not.
So if they can meet all the criteria, they need to pull up, I think they need to pull a permit and go through all their inspections and all that right stuff.
So the person that's inquiring is somebody that wants to buy the land, or is the
She
owner?
wanted to buy it, yeah.
Well, she-
So she's trying to do her due diligence, and the other problem is, it's a pretty big piece of property, I think the field card is in the folder there.
The second person that bought it, they didn't do anything? The first person that bought it?
The first person who bought it did the, plans. They actually tried to, they didn't want the approvals to get transferred, but once they're in my office, it's public record, so, I don't know the in-between the person who owns it now. I've never spoken to them that I would.
And they haven't done anything, have they lived there or anything, or?
I have no idea.
Yeah, okay.
It's just an open file in my drawer, so. So she also wanted this house, the new person, to be a 3-bedroom, and I said, well, if there were variances granted on the well location, so you can increase the flow, it would be new construction, you wouldn't have been able to get those variances and then make it a 3-bedroom, even if the lot is big enough. I said, you'd need to consult an engineer, because I don't know why they needed variances on a big lot, maybe there's wetland, I have no idea, really.
Right.
But it would be a problem if you're keeping that well, if the board even allows that well, and if the well really was installed.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know,
really-
there's a
yeah,
lot of,
I think it's really gonna depend on the location of it, it's reviewing the whole thing.
Mm.
My opinion is too, that, you know, it's retroactive permitting thing. We've been down this road before, and it's a slap in the face to people that try to do it right. And whoever was involved with this sneaky approach, or whatever you wanna call it, to getting a well drilled, I think they should be
I mean, the
potentially
permit
coming
was
forward and
half
explain
filled
themselves
out.
or whatever. It's a slap in the face to the legit people.
But most people that are selling properties that are gonna do septics and gonna do house design and everything, have it all done, and they said, okay, I'm gonna sell you this lot, this is what can go on it. They don't have a potential buyer come in, or another potential buyer come in, or another potential buyer come in and try and figure this all out. This could go on forever. So I think we gotta throw it back to the person that owns the property, not potential buyers. That's who they gotta talk to and clear that up. But we need to know if a well was put in there without a
Right, can we
license.
send a letter to the owner of the property saying we've gotten information
we can.
stating that a well has been put in, we have really shown no permit on record? Can you
Yeah.
please-
Decommissioning of the previous one.
Right, can you please, you know, either come into a meeting or notify the board
Yeah.
if there's a new well on their property?
She
There's
might just be
documentation.
saying that, but most well drillers will take a permit out. They're not gonna take a chance. They will take a permit out,
Mm.
'cause they don't wanna have to drill a well and
Maybe,
then,
maybe she's thinking that they said there's a new well design and there's a still existing well on the property, and maybe she's
Yeah.
getting it confused, who knows?
Yeah.
I think we gotta
Maybe all
deal
for
with the
naught, you're right. Maybe
homeowner,
just totally,
Yeah.
this may
or the
be all.
property.
Well, that's why I had Jim try to
Right.
do a site visit to
Right.
see.
Yeah, so let's see if we can find out who the owner is and notify them with a letter stating that someone
And the well would be visible, 'cause it has to be so many feet above the ground.
18 inches,
Yeah. You'd see
I don't
it.
know if it's just a
Well, if
wooded
you'd
lot.
see it, but we
maybe
can't
have
go
to
on the
go around
property, we can't see it from the street, that's always
I
a,
couldn't see it.
can't go
Unless you
around.
get permission from but the
From
homeowner's the one we gotta deal with, not potential buyers,
Yeah.
because that could go
Yeah,
round
that's
and
true, no,
round.
you're absolutely
I
right.
can excuse this.
All right, okay. Oh, you got it going, all right, we still have a quorum, so we're good.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Get to
Kenny.
work. Go to work, yeah.
Okay, tobacco violation?
Yes, there was a compliance check done by the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Collaborative on June 7th. And Crossroads Variety down on Main Street in Manchog had been cited for selling to a minor. And the minor picked up 2 packs of a Game grape cigar that was sold. So a letter was sent out to him on the 26th of June by certified mail. This is the product here that was sold to the minor. And actually came in last week to pay the fine, which was $100.
Has this been the first one from that place? Didn't we have one recently down that way? No?
No. So basically, that's just it.
Wasn't an employee that sold it?
They didn't really give a
So
lot
they
of
need to be
information.
just retrained, so the violation doesn't happen again?
I did tell, the owner.
The owner.
That we should make sure all of his employees are checking IDs.
So it's happened, some establishments before in town where it's typically the employee just misses it.
Okay, department update?
Department update, a lot going on, gonna be going for training for the, upcoming flu season again. We had just gotten a large reimbursement from the, insurers recently, which was nice. Also, I don't know if anybody been reading in the paper about hogweed, it's a,
Yeah.
plant. And unfortunately, Sutton is one of the 2 sites in central Mass that has it. I've actually seen it,
Is it that big?
it's
Yeah.
that big.
Really?
It's like
Huge.
6 feet high and
It's,
beautiful flowers,
The leaves are
huge.
huge, nice,
Like
green,
tobacco
shiny
leaves,
leaves.
Where is it?
yeah.
It's on a private property
Oh, right, okay, right, yeah,
within a stone's throw from here.
okay. Oh, really, okay.
That's
Um,
not native to this area.
No, but they brought it in
Somebody
as
had to
an
bring it in.
ornamental, from, I think Vietnam.
It's like 1917 or something.
Yeah, 100 years ago.
Right,
And so what happens, it's very prominent out in the Springfield area. And what happens is that if you cut it down, and you get the juices on your
Burns
body
you.
or anything, you can burn, cause temporary blindness.
Yeah.
We've had it in the town probably for about 5 years that I'm aware of, because we were notified of it, and, I've got pictures of it, and I monitor it on a regular basis,
Oh,
but,
okay.
so that's just basically, and it's in the paper today, and,
So,
there was a kid that, down in
The
Virginia someplace.
landscaper that got
Yeah,
really
he got really
burnt
badly,
bad.
I saw a
And
picture
that's what
of him.
happens, second
Wow.
degree burns
Yeah.
and also
Yeah.
blindness.
Yeah,
if
he
you
was
rub
bad,
it
he
with
was,
your
yeah, he
eyes.
was messed up.
But, so that's that, I'm just trying to, diffuse a lot of it, if you see it, you have to just stay away from it, and it's only in that one area on private property that I'm aware of. Also, went on a field trip with several people last week to look at, a organic ingester for, electricity. So, it was myself, planning, fire, building, somebody from Senator Fatman's office, and, Jim Smith. So we all went and just saw how this process worked. They use, cow manure, they solidify it, and they use the methane to, generate,
Interesting.
electricity.
Wow.
So it would be on private property if it was, gonna go through. Basically, that was about it. I got a call about a bat issue, have to follow up on that later on today, so we'll see.
Is it still true? Wasn't it that if there was a bat in the house, everybody had to get tested for rabies?
It depends on a lot of things.
Been a lot of things, okay, all right, okay.
And so that's another thing that I think I need to clarify also, is the responsibility of the testing, because those are not cheap.
I know, yeah.
So, that's that. That's it. Judy has been very good about getting all the, permits out, food, tobacco, and trash, also solid waste. So, and closing out the books for last fiscal year and opening up this. And, a lot of, communicable diseases, very heavy lately. A lot of tick-borne diseases I've been working on for the past, couple of weeks. Getting like 6 or 8 of them a day. So, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a while, really, doesn't it?
And, that's about it.
Okay.
Do you know when the restaurant on 146 is gonna open?
Soon.
Soon?
I know, I've been asked that several times. Ray's gonna do a final inspection.
'Cause I know they've been working on that,
They've been working on it for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah, so soon, very soon. I think they've, building I know had finished with them, so.
And all the camps are doing fine? Summer
Campgrounds.
camps?
Yep, yep, they're fine. I've been working, we have a couple of homeless families down there, I've been working with them. And providing some food for them down there, things like that.
How's clothing and all that stuff? Can you?
Good, I've got a lot of clothing that people donate to me, so I've been forwarding it down there. And, been utilizing the food pantry to bring supplies down there.
Is there any plan in place to, once the weather starts turning?
There is a coalition, the Blackstone Coalition, that meets on a regular basis. There's quite a few communities
Right.
in the Blackstone Valley area. I haven't unfortunately been able to attend those meetings.
Yeah, I've been at those meetings. I
Have you
don't-
been at the meetings?
Yeah, there's really not a lot in place. I mean, it seems
Yeah.
like it's really starting to perk up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that.
People even realizing it existed.
The need is there, and I think it's come up to the forefront now, but again, it's hard, and there's not a lot of resources, and especially, you know, in our community, it kind of falls upon me, or
We're trying
fire,
to,
or building, police, things like that,
Yeah.
so,
I think what we've had success with in Worcester is faith-based groups getting together, and that's sort of
that
where we're
seems to
going.
be, right now, using the facilities for housing.
Yeah.
and things.
Unfortunately, some of the laws in most of the towns require that you have to move the site every week.
Correct,
And that, we've got that changed in Worcester, not
Yeah.
changed, but they overlooked that
Yeah.
because having a central location is obviously a more
right,
continuous type of thing, and so it's, maybe they can try to, but each town is different about how they want to enforce
Right.
that or not.
right, I know Northbridge has a plan, and I think that's why a lot of the meetings are in Northbridge now,
Yeah,
but,
okay,
that's all I really have,
all right, thank you.
yeah.
Follow-up well regulations.
Okay, these, let me just go through all, actually, the first two, we decided to wait till fall, right? Just like after
Yeah.
Jim's busy season, and to tell you the truth, I've been lazy and haven't done anything with any of these. So as your
Well, that-
dutiful servant now, by the next meeting, I'll have information for you. If you want me to, since I started this mess.
I'm considering
feel
letting
it.
you go, but. but
Since I started this
I'll
mess,
keep-
I guess
keep-
I'll follow.
I'll keep you on.
Okay, so, I can, tell you something about 27, Carrier Lane. I spoke to the homeowner last month and, made it clear to him in no uncertain terms that he needed to provide us something by this meeting from the engineer or whatever to show progress. And I told him we've been as cooperative as we possibly could be. And, at this point, you're putting us in a very compromised situation where if he ended up contaminating a neighbor's well, the state's gonna come looking at us. He has not gotten back to us in any way, shape, or form. And I told him we would be in an enforcement mode at this next meeting, which is this meeting.
Okay.
And we haven't heard anything from him.
What is
So,
the enforcement?
I guess certified, mail and,
I don't know if we have fines in place.
that's the thing. Yeah, so,
I know
well-
in the past, we had an issue many years ago that, I believe they didn't correct it, that some letters step in and correct it, but the homeowner ended up correcting it.
my suggestion would be a certified mail saying, that we are now in an enforcement mode on this issue, and, be talking to the state, and we will, we will, anticipate another letter here over the next few weeks, implementing fines,
Do we
with
have the
fining it, 'cause
ability
we
to
don't-
Also,
condemn the
I
property?
was just
I thought
gonna
you deemed it
suggest that
Because I think
we
that's-
can do that
Oh, we-
because there is
Because we-
someone there.
We do
Living.
that on different houses with different situations,
Right.
and
It's unsafe
Yeah.
for human
Yeah,
habitation.
yeah,
Yeah.
Maybe
put
that
yeah,
letter
we
would
made
be-
that, put that in the letter and say,
Because-
that was probably the biggest thing, is the first bullet should say,
that would be an
Yeah.
easier way, instead of putting a system in for them and charging them, but just condemn it
Yeah, no,
and.
but also,
You
if
spoke to
I'm not
the owner?
mistaken.
yes, I did,
Do you know when?
It was probably, it was prior to the last meeting, so it was probably like 6 weeks ago. And I, 6 weeks ago roughly, and I made it perfectly clear to him that by this meeting, we needed something.
We're going on
official
at
from his
least
engineer or
2
otherwise.
years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's crazy. No,
And
we've,
we had
That's long.
complaints last year,
he has exhausted our goodwill.
and, he had written a letter when we first sent that out, if you remember
Mhm.
that letter that was written to us,
Mhm.
which was not very complimentary,
Right,
and,
Well-
kind of threatening, I thought. I took it as being threatening.
well,
But anyways,
it's just, he's exhausted
and
all of our
that's a
goodwill.
tight area down there, so,
Yeah. So I suppose, You know, I guess, through you, Bill, you know, maybe we should, talk to Jim and maybe we should make a site visit to see, I mean, if there's breakout heading for the neighbor's well, you know, which could run down the well.
It's going into the
Right.
water.
It's
Well,
going
could
into
run
the
to-
water.
well,
It's-
could run down the well casing and contaminate the neighbor's well, I mean, you know,
Well,
this may be a situation where we need to condemn it then, you know?
But yeah, I don't think we need to do any more effort on our part to go down and look again. It's because obviously it hasn't done anything in years, so
Mm.
I think we just send a letter that we intend to condemn. If we don't,
Okay, yeah, that makes
You
sense, yeah.
We
Let's
don't
do
see
that.
progress.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, right, yeah.
We
Something.
had the perk
Yeah.
test done, right? We just don't know if the design hasn't been submitted, so,
That was last year they said that it was, that part was done, and nothing's been done since then.
He told me it was held up with the engineer, and I said, well, you know,
No.
make
She's
it.
been in several times and she has not said
I
that.
believe that, I mean, I, you know, I told him, well, settle it with your engineer then, I mean, you know,
okay,
so, yeah, that's good.
all right, we'll do that then.
Um,
Other business not anticipated?
I gave all of you copies of the reflexology for your
Yes.
reading enjoyment.
The other thing too is I did go, what's the property one on the Manchog Road, the bedroom count? I did that,
Oh.
you wanna talk about that?
182?
182 Manchog Road, I went out there, met the engineers from Andrews. That's a tear down. We talked about it at the last meeting, we're determining whether, it's gonna be on a tight tank, but there's an issue of how many bedrooms. It is
Mhm.
indeed a 2-bedroom, so I guess we needed to issue a deed restriction at some point. Right?
you
Well,
still
they
have
do
to,
that.
you
They do
still
that,
have to
yeah.
see
Yeah.
They do
plans
that,
on
they have to
that.
Yeah.
provide documentation.
I already
Yeah, and we need
sent-
to see the house
Yeah.
plans. The other thing about that property is,
I don't remember.
you might wanna get a hold of Andrews and see when that is a public health safety hazard, that building. It's open and it is trashed. I mean, trashed, there's broken glass everywhere. You know, some kids get in there, somebody could get hurt. That property
Aren't
is
they required to board that up?
the
That
front
would be a
door was,
crucial issue with the building.
let me,
Yeah.
okay, maybe we should get a hold of.
Yeah, because they
If that's-
usually, if it's something, a building like that, they usually board it up with plywood and bolts.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
dangerous.
if
Tear
people
down?
have
It's a
access
tear
to.
down?
It's a tear down, oh yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tear down. It's a
Oh, well, that's what happened, the demo guy came in, that's what initiated you to go.
demo guy came.
Demo.
What is the demo, what's he just doing, breaking windows and like
No,
trashing?
no, he came into my office,
Okay,
He was gonna
and I
demo
said, you
the building.
can't demolish that building until you do a site visit.
oh, okay, so,
Okay, so they're getting ready to
they're getting ready to
demolish it,
demolish, do you know if they have a
yes.
demolition permit yet?
He was going to building,
Okay, so
so.
good, as long as it's gone,
Yeah,
surely,
that's-
cause it,
Because
He
the
was-
demo permit, they have to go through getting all the hazardous material out of there and do, you know, all kinds of tests to make sure they can demolish that. So
Well, it's
that's
his
the building
building, yeah.
department,
yeah.
yeah.
But because, he hadn't done his walkthrough yet,
To determine the bedroom count.
to do the
Right.
bedroom count.
Oh.
I wouldn't let him tear it down.
All right, so it is a
Okay.
two-bedroom.
Lynn
It's a
came
2-bedroom,
and
yeah, it's a
checked.
legit
Okay.
2-bedroom.
To see if we were all set, and I said, we are not all set,
Okay.
and so Andrews also knows, I sent them an email saying it's a 2-bedroom.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
They have to do the, deed restriction.
right,
And they had to, revise the plan, actually,
Right.
so I said, put it
Well, it's a
as
bigger tank on
two-bedroom.
a two-bedroom tight tank, it's not the
And there was
1,500.
well,
Well,
that's the one that they're
that's-
trying to reuse the tank,
No,
which
they
we still
can't.
don't know about.
I think they need a 2,000 gallon tank.
There was
Well, no,
another
this is
issue
a-
with,
We
Jim-
were waiting for
had
Jim
do
to get
another
back to
change.
us on that, right? This is the property that,
No, that's not the same one.
it's not the same one? Okay,
No.
never mind, okay,
No,
sorry.
it's not the same one.
I thought that was the same one that wanted to there was a huge tank
No,
there.
I don't even have that plan ever yet, no.
Oh, you
that's
haven't
not
seen it,
They're
okay, I thought
separate.
that was the same property,
Mhm.
okay.
They're not the same. But this one, Jim wanted something with the floodplains as well, so.
Correct.
So Andrews will revise the plan, put the elevations of the floodplains or
Yep,
something Jim
right,
wanted. I'm
right.
going by memory here,
Yeah.
and the deed restriction and the 2-bedroom, because the design initially, I believe, said 3-bedroom design,
Well, if they can,
but you said it was a 2-bedroom house.
this is
That's
only
why
a
it was
tight
a-
tank, right? I'm
I
sure
don't
that
know.
can't be reversed. Just at first look, I can't imagine they getting a septic system on that one. You sure that's not the one that was gonna reuse the tank?
No, it's
No,
not
I
the
think
same one.
108 Putnam Hill Road was the one that they were trying to
Was it,
reuse
oh,
the
good memory,
tank.
okay, alright,
Because we just did that last
Yeah.
time.
108 Putnam Hill Road.
That's correct.
Maybe they are getting a septic, I don't know, I'd have to see the plan, it seemed like an incredibly small lot, but
No, it was a tight tank,
it was tight.
because I remember asking Jim why would they stipulate, what's the difference between 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom when it's a tight tank? But they need a deed restriction.
Well, they can't increase flow to a tight tank, right? So if it's a 2-bedroom house, it
It's
needs
gonna
to
be
stay
a
a 2-bedroom
two-bedroom,
house.
and
You
it's
can't
gonna be
increase flow to a
2,000
tight tank,
gallon
right?
tank, and if it's in the
So they
floodplains,
need a deed
it's,
restriction.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't, that was the whole point of it, we were trying to assure that they weren't increasing flow to a tight tank situation.
So I believe he put that it was a 3-bedroom design, that's why he went and did the count.
3-bedroom house design, but there is no, I mean, it's not a
No,
septic
he
design.
put for the design criteria, on the plan, he put 3-bedroom.
Okay,
But
it
it's
needs
a
to be changed to
two-bedroom, right, deed restriction,
Changes to
yeah,
it, too.
okay.
Anything else?
What was that, Dudley Road? Remember there was a well polluted on Dudley Road? They put a new well in and it got
That's
polluted.
the TCE that's on the,
How did they solve that problem? Cause it looks like the house is up for sale.
that's how they realized there was TCE
And what
in
did
the
they do?
well, because they did a water test
And how
prior
did they
to putting it up.
How did they correct that so the new owners don't end up with a contaminated well?
It's not closed yet, and Jim never signed off on the water supply certificate either.
So when on the market to be sold?
I think that you can sell a property like that, I mean.
With a contaminated well?
I don't know that the well is,
Reduce
they
price.
Yeah.
corrected the well,
Exactly.
cause there's a, DEP had that environmental company come,
Correct.
and so they did water testing, and then if there were any hits, they went further out,
But their
so
well
that's still-
themselves tested
Yeah,
bad.
didn't they filter it?
They filtered it.
They
out.
did
I believe they
put a
filtered
filter
it.
on
They
it?
did correct
Yeah,
it.
they
That's
corrected
why
it.
he
Alright.
got involved.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was corrected, it's just not,
All right,
Jim wouldn't sign off because it's not, resolved
Right.
yet.
right,
You know, there's still an open, environmental issue
Yeah.
in the area.
right. And
Even
that's,
though there's been no more hits since.
that's not, that's open for so many years. Yeah, they don't close that right
They
away.
assigned a
LSP.
RTN,
Yeah.
the LSP is
Right, right, okay.
handling it,
Yeah.
but I haven't received any new reports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Open for any,
Okay, anything new?
motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Next meeting?
Next
Okay,
meeting,
next meeting, oh, yeah.
August 28th.
ooh,
August 28th.
end
Tuesday?
of the summer.
I gotta mention that.
Tuesday?
That's a Tuesday.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
All opposed? In favor? Very good, thank you.
I'll help you out this